Have you ever noticed how one small setback can steal your whole day? And have you ever wondered why the mind clings to outcomes as if your happiness depends on them? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to walk straight into a lesson that can quietly change the way you live, not by adding more ideas to your head, but by removing a heavy chain you did not even realize you were dragging around. The first idea is this: life is not happening to you as a personal attack or a personal reward. It is happening through you, and you are always participating in it. The second idea is this: the most reliable form of freedom is not getting everything you want, but learning how to act with full intensity without becoming a prisoner of the result. Let me start with a simple scene. Imagine someone waking up early, making plans, promising themselves they will be calm today. The morning feels clean. The air feels like a new page. Then a message arrives. A delay, a rude comment, a sudden problem. Within minutes, the mind is boiling. The body tightens. The plan is gone. Now the day feels cursed. Most people think the problem is the message, the delay, the rude comment. But the Bhagavad Gita points to something subtler. The real problem is the bargain you made with life without reading the fine print. The bargain says, "I will be peaceful if reality matches my expectations." And the fine print says, "Reality owes you nothing." When you see it like that, you realize something almost funny. You are trying to negotiate with the universe. You are saying, "Please behave in a way that makes me comfortable." But the universe is not a customer service desk. It is an ocean. Sometimes it is calm. Sometimes it storms. It does not storm because it hates you. It storms because that is its nature. The question becomes, can you be a sailor instead of a victim? In the Gita, the setting itself is dramatic. Two sides stand ready for battle. It is not just a story about war. It is a story about inner war, because inside every person, there is a battlefield. One side is fear, attachment, pride, and the endless hunger for control. The other side is clarity, courage, humility, and the willingness to do what is right even when the heart trembles. The hero stands there overwhelmed. He does not know what to do. He does not know how to act without falling apart. And what does the teaching offer him? It does not offer a magic trick to remove the battle. It offers a way to stand in the middle of it without losing the soul. Now, I want you to notice something. Most people want spirituality to be a soothing song that helps them sleep. But real wisdom is often a bell that wakes you up. It asks you to look at the ways you are asleep while your eyes are open. It asks you to look at the way you hand over your inner stability to outer events. That is the first big shift. There is a line of thought associated with the Gita that can be summarized like this: your right is to action, not to the fruits of action. This is not saying you should not care about outcomes. It is saying outcomes should not own you. Outcomes should not decide your worth, your peace, your identity. Because the moment your inner state depends on the outcome, you become vulnerable, not just to failure, but to success as well. Why to success as well? Because success creates fear of losing, and that fear becomes a new chain. You win today and you worry tomorrow. You get praise today and you crave it again tomorrow. You get comfort today and you panic when it is threatened tomorrow. Attachment is not love. Attachment is insecurity wearing the mask of love. Let us make it practical. Suppose you are studying. You want good grades. That is fine. You should aim well. But many students secretly say to themselves, "If I do not get this grade, I am nothing." Or "If I fail, my life is ruined." Then the studying becomes poisoned. It is no longer about learning. It becomes a desperate attempt to protect an identity. And when the exam comes, the mind shakes. Even if they know the material, the mind trembles because the ego is on the line. Now imagine the same student living the Gita lesson. They say, I will study fully. I will show up fully. I will use my time well. I will ask for help. I will practice. I will rest. I will do my best. And then I will accept whatever result comes, learn from it, and keep moving. In that state, their energy becomes cleaner. Their focus becomes sharper. Their sleep becomes deeper. Their anxiety decreases, not because life became easier, but because the inner relationship to life became wiser. Here is the tricky part. Many people misunderstand this teaching and think it means you should be passive. No, it means you should be fully alive in what you do. It is not detachment from life. It is detachment from the mental cage you build around life. Think of a gardener. The gardener waters the seed, protects the soil, removes weeds, gives sunlight when possible, and waits. But the gardener does not scream at the seed to grow faster. The gardener does not insult the seed when it grows slowly. The gardener does not collapse into despair if one plant fails. The gardener does what can be done and cooperates with time. That cooperation with time is wisdom. The seed is the outcome. The watering is the action. The gardener focuses on the action, not on controlling the seed. So why do we resist this? Because the ego loves control. The ego believes control equals safety. But life keeps proving a hard truth. Control is limited. Even your own body is not fully under your control. Your own moods are not fully under your control. Your own thoughts appear without invitation. So the attempt to control everything becomes exhausting. The Gita is not asking you to give up responsibility. It is asking you to give up the illusion that your responsibility includes controlling the universe. Your responsibility is to align your intention and your action with what is right, what is wise, what is compassionate. Then let reality respond in its own way. Now let us bring in the deeper spiritual angle. When people hear words like karma, they sometimes reduce it to a simple reward and punishment system. But karma is more subtle. Karma is the imprint of action, intention, and habit on the mind and on the path of life. If you act with anger, you do not just create a problem outside, you shape the inside of yourself. You become more likely to act with anger again. If you act with greed, you become a person who sees the world through hunger. If you act with generosity, you become someone whose heart has room. Karma is a kind of education. Life teaches you through patterns. So the Gita lesson is not only about peace, it is also about shaping your destiny. When you shift from attachment to conscious action, you change the type of karma you generate. You change the kind of person you become. You change the flavor of your future. Let me tell you a story, not as a historical claim, not as a mirror you can use. Imagine a young person who is always trying to prove themselves. They want to be admired. They want to be seen as special. Every conversation becomes a performance. If they are praised, they feel high. If they are ignored, they feel low. They are constantly scanning for signals. This creates a life of emotional slavery because their inner state is held hostage by other people's reactions. One day, they meet a teacher, maybe not a formal teacher, maybe just someone whose presence is calm. The teacher does not seem to chase approval. The teacher listens without needing to win. The teacher speaks without needing to dominate. The young person feels confused. How can someone be so steady? So they ask, and the teacher says something like, I do what needs to be done. I do not need the world to clap for me. When the world claps, I smile. When the world does not clap, I still breathe. My worth is not a public vote. That moment plants a seed. The young person starts practicing. They begin to notice the urge to perform. They see the craving for recognition. And instead of obeying it, they pause. They breathe. They act from sincerity. It feels uncomfortable at first, because addiction always complains when you stop feeding it. But slowly, a new kind of strength grows. The young person becomes less reactive. They become more real. Their relationships improve because they are no longer manipulating for attention. This is the Gita lesson in daily clothes. Now, let us go one step deeper. There is a difference between detachment and indifference. Indifference says, I do not care. Detachment says, I care, but I am not possessed. Indifference is cold. Detachment is clear. Indifference avoids pain by shutting down. Detachment faces pain without drowning. And this is where compassion enters. If you are obsessed with outcomes, you often become harsh, both to yourself and to others. You become impatient. You become judgmental. You become controlling. But when you are detached from outcomes, you can be compassionate because you are not constantly defending a fragile ego. Imagine you are helping a friend. If you are attached to being seen as the savior, then when your friend does not immediately improve, you feel angry. You feel insulted. You might say, I tried so hard. Why are you still like this? That is not compassion. That is ego disguised as kindness. Real compassion says, I will support you, and I will respect your pace. I will do my part, and I will not use your struggle to build my identity. This connects directly to Buddhist practice as well, because Buddhism also emphasizes non-attachment, impermanence, and mindful action. The point is not to become emotionals. The point is to become wise in how emotions move through you. Feelings can arise without becoming a prison. Thoughts can appear without becoming orders. So how do you train this in real life? Start small. Start in ordinary moments. When you do something, notice the subtle tension that says, it must go my way. Notice how the mind creates a movie of what should happen. Then gently return to what you can actually do right now. If you are speaking to someone, you can offer sincerity. You cannot control how they interpret it. If you are applying for something, you can prepare well. You cannot control the final decision. If you are creating something, you can craft it with care. You cannot control how the world receives it, but you can control whether you bring integrity. And integrity is a powerful word here. Integrity means you are whole. You are not split between the act and the craving. You are not pretending. You are not bargaining. You are aligned. When you live that way, your mind becomes less noisy, because much of mental noise is the sound of inner conflict. Now let me tell you another story. More down to earth. Someone wants to start meditating. They sit down. They close their eyes. Within seconds, they feel restless. They think, I am bad at this. They stand up. They quit. They try again later. Same thing. They quit again. After a while they say, meditation is not for me. But what is happening? They are attached to an outcome. They want instant calm. They want instant silence. They want proof that they are doing it right. But meditation is not a vending machine. It is more like learning to play an instrument. At first it is messy. The fingers do not obey. The sound is rough. You keep practicing. And slowly, the body learns. The mind learns. The breath becomes a friend. If the person applies the Gita lesson, They sit and they do the practice without demanding a result. They say, I will give these minutes as an offering. I will breathe. I will notice. I will return. Whether it feels peaceful or not, I am building a deeper habit of awareness. After weeks, something shifts. They suddenly notice that the thoughts are still there, but they are not drowning in them. They notice a small space between impulse and reaction. In that space, freedom begins. That space is everything. Because most suffering is not created by events. It is created by the automatic reaction to events. Someone says something harsh. The sound enters your ears. That is one thing. Then the mind repeats it, interprets it, attacks you with it, builds a story, imagines future insults, imagines revenge, imagines shame. That inner storm is where suffering multiplies. Awareness breaks the chain. So the invaluable lesson becomes simple. Do not let the world choose your inner weather. Choose it through awareness, through disciplined action, and through a heart that is not clinging. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be saying, if I let go of attachment, will I lose motivation? Will I become lazy? Will I stop caring about my dreams? Actually, it often works the other way around. Attachment wastes energy. It leaks energy through worry, comparison, and fear. Detachment gathers energy. It focuses it. When you are not terrified of outcomes, you can take risks. You can learn. You can adapt. You can persist. Look at an athlete. If an athlete is obsessed with winning to prove their worth, pressure destroys them. But if an athlete loves the craft, they can win, lose, learn, and return stronger. They might still want to win, but their identity is not destroyed by loss. That stability creates better performance. So the teaching is deeply practical. It is not philosophy for the clouds. It is a manual for staying human under stress. Let us also talk about the sense of self. The Gita points to a deeper identity beyond the changing roles you play. Student, worker, child, parent, friend, creator. All these roles change. They come and go. If you define yourself only by these, you will suffer when they shift. But if you touch a deeper sense of being, a simple awareness that is present before roles, then you can play roles without becoming trapped by them. This is why many spiritual traditions emphasize observing the mind. Because when you observe, you realize you are not the thought. You are the awareness that knows the thought. You are not the emotion. You are the awareness that feels the emotion. This does not make you distant. It makes you free. And freedom does not mean you never feel pain. It means pain does not become your identity. It means you can experience sadness without becoming hopeless. You can experience fear without becoming controlled. You can experience anger without becoming violent. You can experience desire without becoming addicted. Now, here is where wisdom and compassion meet. When you see your own mind clearly, you also become less judgmental of others. You realize most people are acting from their conditioning, from their fears, from their cravings. This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it helps you respond with clarity instead of hatred. You can set boundaries without poisoning your heart. This is where the idea of Dharma becomes relevant. The idea of right action, of living in alignment with truth. Dharma is not just religious duty. It is the natural law of what supports life and reduces suffering. When your actions are aligned with Dharma, you feel a quiet strength even when life is difficult. But again, the mind tries to turn Dharma into a new ego costume. It says, I am right, others are wrong. That becomes another battlefield. So the practice is always to return to humility. to ask, am I acting from clarity or from pride? Am I acting from compassion or from control? Am I serving truth or serving my image? When you live like this, even ordinary days become spiritual training. A traffic delay becomes a lesson in patience. A disagreement becomes a lesson in listening. A failure becomes a lesson in surrender and learning. A success becomes a lesson in gratitude and restraint. Now I want to share a personal style example, not claiming a specific biography, but reflecting a common human experience. Many people have a season where they chase something hard, maybe a project, a dream, a relationship. They invest everything. They lose sleep. They imagine the future reward. And then it does not work out. They feel broken. They say, I wasted my time. I wasted my effort. I wasted my heart. But later, if they look back with more maturity, they often realize it was not wasted. The effort shaped them. The discipline grew them. The pain softened them. The experience clarified what truly matters. The result did not come, but the person became stronger, wiser, more grounded. This is the hidden fruit of action. Sometimes the fruit is not the external outcome. Sometimes the fruit is inner evolution. This is why the Gita lesson is invaluable. It protects you from despair. It also protects you from arrogance. It keeps you moving through life like a river, responding, adjusting, flowing, instead of like a rock that cracks when the world pushes. Now, let us bring it home with one more image. Imagine you are holding sand in your hand. If you squeeze tightly, sand escapes. If you hold gently, it stays. Life is like that. The tighter you grip, the more you suffer. The gentler your grip, the more you can appreciate what is present. So what is the daily practice? Each day, choose one area where you usually cling. Maybe it is needing everyone to like you. Maybe it is needing things to be perfect. Maybe it is needing certainty. In that area, practice doing your best and releasing the rest. Speak honestly and release how it is received. Work sincerely and release the applause. Care deeply and release possession. Over time, something beautiful happens. You begin to experience a quiet joy that is not dependent on circumstances. It is not loud excitement. It is a steady warmth, a sense that you can face whatever comes. That is real power. And I want to be clear. This is not a one-time realization. It is a training. Some days you will do well. Some days you will forget. That is fine. The path is not about being perfect. It is about waking up again and again. If this teaching resonates, look at your life as a classroom. Ask yourself, where am I trying to control what cannot be controlled? Where am I postponing peace until conditions are perfect? Where can I bring full effort without becoming a slave to the result? Because when you can act like that, you are no longer just surviving. You are practicing wisdom. You are practicing freedom. You are practicing a kind of compassion toward yourself and toward life. Because you stop fighting reality and start cooperating with it. Now we come to the part that often creates the deepest resonance. Many of us have been raised with the idea that love means attachment, that caring means clinging, that commitment means control. But that is not love. Real love wants the other to be free. Real love does not treat people like trophies or guarantees. Real love is presence, not possession. So the Gita lesson also heals relationships. You can love without trying to own. You can support without suffocating. You can be close without fear. That is a higher form of connection. When you stop demanding that someone complete you, you finally meet them as they are. And strangely, that is when connection becomes more authentic. Not because it is easy, but because it is honest. So let me close with this reflection. If you feel stuck, if you feel anxious, if you feel like life is too unpredictable, it might not be life that needs to change first. It might be your relationship to life. The invaluable lesson is not to escape the world, but to stop being internally manipulated by it. Do your work, offer your best, stay awake, keep your heart compassionate, let outcomes teach you, not define you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you have your own story about a moment when letting go of control changed your life, share it in the comments. I read them, and often the community learns as much from each other as from any video. If you want more videos like this, support the channel by subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment so the algorithm knows this kind of content matters. And if you want to go deeper, consider joining as a member so we can keep making long-form teachings that are practical, grounded, and genuinely transformative.